Hi, I'm Jamie-Lynn Sigler, and welcome to Living With It, a 10-part series about what it means to keep going when life doesn't go according to plan. Through honest conversations with people who've experienced loss, illness, grief, and life's unexpected challenges, as well as experts who help us navigate them, we hope you'll leave each episode feeling inspired, understood, and a little less alone.
Hey, I'm Jamie-Lynn Sigler. You know when you're looking for a song and you hear one that just hits all the right beats, and it's like, that's the one. That's what it felt like to find my relapsing MS treatment. When it was time for a change, I talked to my doctor about choosing a treatment that let me feel in control, that I take myself. My treatment choice? Boom, that's Kesimpta. I use it once a month, right at home or wherever I'm headed, no infusion days required. And Kesimpta has been proven to reduce relapses and slow disability progression, as shown in 2 studies versus teriflunomide.
Kesimpta ofatumumab is a prescription treatment for adults with relapsing forms of multiple sclerosis taken monthly after 3 weekly starter doses. Don't take if you've had an allergic or life-threatening reaction to Kesimpta or have hepatitis B. You'll be tested for Hep B before treatment as it could return. Serious side effects, including infections and PML, a rare brain infection, can occur and may be fatal or cause severe disability. Tell your doctor about your medical history, including liver problems, plans for vaccines, and pregnancy. It's not known if it will harm your unborn baby. You'll be monitored for a decrease in certain antibodies and liver function, as it may cause liver damage. Most common side effects are upper respiratory infection, headache, and injection reactions, including swelling, itching, pain, skin redness, fever, headache, muscle pain, chills, and tiredness.
Talk to your doctor to see if Kesimpta hits all the right beats for you. Visit Kesimpta.com or call 855-KESIMPTA.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Living With It. My guest today is a transformational coach, a wellness leader who's dedicated to guiding people through change. And he is the author of the new book, The Book of Possibility, which has been vibrating in my hands over the past couple of days. It feels like a divine moment of what I've been needing so badly. And I know so many other people will share in what I'm feeling. So welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you, Jamie. What a beautiful statement about the book. I'm so pleased to be here.
Thank you. You know, I wanted to start this little Living With It series because I want to explore the magic that can happen when we accept the circumstances we're living with, but don't stop believing that we're worthy of more. You know, we're still worthy of hope, still worthy of dreaming, still worthy of a beautiful life. And when I started your book, I found myself in tears for the first 14 pages because so much of your story is familiar to me. I have lived with MS for 25 years. I have tried all the things. I've seen all the people. I've white-knuckled my way through it. I've gritted. I've cried. I've been proud of myself. I've felt all of the things, but it's gotten to this point where life is looking different than I thought it would. There's still fear. There's still uncertainty. And reading your story made me feel less alone in that. But the gift that you're giving people and the way that you're guiding people to change, this conversation in this book is such a gift for me, but I also know I'm not the only person who needs to hear it and read this. So with all that said, I just kind of want to start with kind of what the thesis I think of this interview will be with this question. How do you accept the life you have without giving up on the life you still want?
Wow. You know, I really resonate with what you say because living with chronic illness and trying to stay present despite the fear of what the potential could be every day is something that I know firsthand and well, and most of the people that I work with know that too. And so I use this tool that is radical acceptance. So I know that if I fight it, if I'm in resistance to it every day, and then it just creates more conflict within me. And if I radically accept this is where I am, and then take a little bit of my spirituality juice, and like a couple drops of spirituality, and say, you know what, I'm divinely guided. I'll be able to handle and overcome anything that happens in the future. And that doesn't mean that the light inside me doesn't keep shining. That doesn't mean that the joy doesn't keep coming, and that I am not my body. I am not my illness. I am this conscious awareness that is experiencing itself. And perhaps if I came to this life, this conflict, this issue, because I decided that I needed that at some point in my life to overcome, some karma, some issue, or just a challenge so that I could learn and grow. So if I believe in something greater, that's kind of that's what has helped me quite a bit.
Absolutely. You are so much of who I aspire to be, with your conviction and your deep-rooted belief in that. And that is, so much of why I think I share what I go through personally, because I've had a taste of that radical acceptance and that resonance and that belief that this is here to serve me and this is here to make me grow and evolve. And whether this was a result of a deep-rooted subconscious belief that I had, or some karmic thing that I'm cleaning, I don't question why I have it. I try to stay more curious instead of like, why me, of just like, what is this here to show me and teach me? And I think because you live with chronic illness, and because you have that intimate experience with probably so many people that you work with, it helps us feel even more connected and believe even more, because you deeply understand. So can you take me back to when you were 19 and you were a healthy, competitive athlete? Everything was seeming as it should be. And then you woke up one morning and couldn't feel hot water on your foot. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Thank you for reading.
Of course.
Kind of everybody has these origin stories that I talked to you about when they got sick. And it's such a transformation because, life as we know it just changes. And for me, I had, I was the healthy, strong guy. And I woke up and that was the beginning of it, when I couldn't feel water on my left foot and I tried to ignore it, and it just progressed and progressed and progressed. And it took years to get to a place where, I had trouble walking. I would say in the same decline of my physical body, I had the same increase in my desire to kind of explore something more. And I think that's often out of desperation, right? When we're happy and comfortable, we don't look to grow spiritually or intellectually. We kind of just stay in that spot.
Yeah.
And so I often think, as going through this condition and feeling the pain, feeling the worry, then going numb, and then getting neuropathy in my feet, and then, losing some mobility, losing complete mobility, and then gaining some back, and then learning to, walk with a limp, and then, feeling good, and then getting a cane, and all those things. I wonder, would I give it up to stay in the ignorance and bliss? And the answer is no. But that's a tough answer.
Yeah.
It even brings up some emotion now. It's like, this is my path and this was meant to be. And, you'd kind of accept some things with knowing that, like, hey, guess what? There is science on our side.
Yeah.
David Sinclair and others that people are like, who is this and what is this and is this real? There's science on our side that the medical community is growing. And so, like, if we can stay in a positive mindset, if we can believe in something more and keep our bodies as healthy as possible as they can be, because the mind-body experience is real, then perhaps we can stay hopeful enough that in the future there is real change, real possibility.
Yeah. Do you think because it took so long and you didn't have like a specific diagnosis, that ultimately that might have been a blessing that you weren't attached to one? Because sometimes when you get a diagnosis, you then just have like so much of a story around it, as opposed to when it's kind of still left a mystery, there's still so much more possibility, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's great because I talk about the I am a lot. And the I
Mm-hmm.
am is kind of what we say we are. It becomes our identity.
Right.
And when we say we are our chronic illness, um, when we say we are our issues, whatever we say I am to, it's like a message to our mind and body that like, that's ours. Let's keep it.
Yeah.
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 You identify as being the sick person.
Exactly. And so, and then I've done a lot of work with other coaches, and they say, there's also, this idea that we as people need significance, and whether you like it or not, there is some significance in this thing that you're carrying, this illness that you're carrying. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow. This idea that this thing that I really disliked and whatever, for somehow, some way, it was, contributing to this idea of me being significant in the world.
Mm.
But I think you're right in that sense of like, you really make it your own. And not knowing what it was, created a lot more fear of, oh shit. Sometimes when you know what it is, you're like, oh, I'm going to treat it. And then you have some comfort in that. And not knowing what it is creates a little bit of a spiral in fear, and which was also really beneficial for me because I had to live in the unknown. And basically that's what life is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. When you talk about hitting that rock bottom moment, right? You to know that you were able to go from what you're talking about, all of this fear and uncertainty, to then you being able to say and quote, I learned to live and love a new body, one that doesn't run, that walks with a limp, that lives with chronic pain, radically accepting while still knowing there was the possibility for change. I mean, I feel like I could have written that sentence. I know so many others feel that. It gives so much hope to know your radical honesty of where you were and your radical honesty of where you are now, and that possibility. And I think that sentence just stopped me because I'm finding myself, like I said, in this place in my life where like, this is the work that I want to commit to. This is what I want to firmly, finally believe for myself. I think with chronic illness, because days can wane and we can have good days and bad days, it can take us on that emotional ride, and like being able to have something that holds you steady through all of that is so important, and something that I don't think people hold enough value on, or understand that's more the work that should be, you be putting in more work into that than anything else.
Yeah, I think you're right. And how do you hold both? It's like, how do you really work on your faith, and how do you really work on your mindset, and then how do you really work on your body? But I think you're right. We're like, I need what's the next medical treatment, and what may benefit you even more is this kind of like feeling of ease in your life, no matter what. And that's a tough one. Because it's not a pill that you can swallow.
Right.
It takes a lot of practice, and you know that.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we keep bringing ourselves back to this place of trust and calmness when fear is just screaming every time that you feel that pain. A lot of people who have come to me that have like overcome cancer, and there's a real PTSD in that, right? Because they celebrate this idea of overcoming cancer, but really what happens is that they go through life every time they feel a little sick or something, saying, is it back?
Mm-hmm.
Because they have to be tested, and they're like one cell, and it could, and so this idea of like, how do you trust and live and know that no matter what, there is, a possibility, right? And whatever happens, the kind of this idea of whatever happened is meant to happen, and I'm divinely guided. And I say that a lot. I'm divinely guided. And, it always helps. And what comes up now is I was late because I just had this interview with a magazine, and it's a big paper. And the interviewer really was kind of trying to expose this idea of the intersection of spirituality and physics, because we talk about the quantum and then we talk about quantum physics, and you're drawing parallels to that, and it's not peer reviewed, and how can you say that it's just physics and this kind of thing, and like make it's too close of a parallel when it's not peer reviewed, and where's the research, and really kind of trying to take this myopic view of exposing me and others as like this, kind of like the guru that's trying to get you to spend your money type of thing.
Right.
And I walked out of there saying, you know what? That's bad news. That feels bad. And now I have all this worry about how I'll be perceived when this article comes out. And I found myself just saying, listen, you're doing good. Your intentions are right. And you're divinely guided. And it kind of just melted away. Right. So that's what's, that's what's faith. That's what spirituality and faith is. And, even if something bad comes, we'll be able to handle it.
Absolutely. I so empathize with that, because I think when people share vulnerably and it's up for discussion or, commentary, it's really difficult, because it's not easy to do that. Even if it feels of your purpose and of being of service, but when people are there to sort of pick it apart, that is so difficult. But the only thing you can go back to is just knowing who you are and what you're doing and the intention behind it. And that's all that's in your control.
Right. And that's for everybody in the world.
Right.
Right. The problem is, I think, is that people don't know who they are. They don't have set an intention. They don't know what they want in their purpose. Right.
Right.
And so that's like, being in a storm without a rudder, or, kind of with no anchor when you're kind of on your, all those analogies, right?
Yeah.
And so when people are really feeling stuck or really feeling in pain, and they're overwhelmed by their life and their marriage and their disease and their condition and all the stuff, I say, what do you want? What do you really want? Because are you focusing on the outcomes that you don't want?
Right.
Or are you focusing on the outcomes that you want? Because no matter what, you're going to eat one of those.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
So you might as well focus on the more things that you like and that you love and that you want, because, at those are the things where your focus will more often come into play in a significant way in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Getting diagnosed with relapsing MS isn't just a medical moment, it's a life moment. For Zenobia, it came out of nowhere, and it shook everything.
I had a lot of fear, a lot of anger. Why me? I try to do all the right things. I take care of my body. So what is this?
But she didn't stay in that fear. When her doctor said, "You have options," she leaned in. Because for Zenobia, taking charge of her treatment was everything.
Once I heard about Kesimpta and that I could take it just once a month at home, I said, please sign me up. I really wanted something that worked for me and my busy life.
Kesimpta ofatumumab is a prescription treatment for adults with relapsing forms of multiple sclerosis, taken monthly after 3 weekly starter doses. It's a B-cell treatment that gives you the power of proven results, with reduced relapses and slowed disability progression, as shown in 2 studies versus teriflunomide. With a treatment that fits her full life, Zenobia has the time to keep up with her wellness business, spend time with friends, and stay focused on what matters to her.
the 5th. That's my treatment date. I really don't think about it the rest of the month, and I love that. I am not letting relapsing MS disrupt my life. My treatment choice? Boom, that's Kesimpta.
Don't take if you've had an allergic or life-threatening reaction to Kesimpta or have hepatitis B. You'll be tested for Hep B before treatment, as it could return. Serious side effects, including infections and PML, a rare brain infection, can occur and may be fatal or cause severe disability. Tell your doctor about your medical history, including liver problems, plans for vaccines, and pregnancy. It's not known if it will harm your unborn baby. You'll be monitored for a decrease in certain antibodies and liver function, as it may cause liver damage. Most common side effects are upper respiratory infection, headache, and injection reactions, including swelling, itching, pain, skin redness, fever, headache, muscle pain, chills, and tiredness. If you're navigating relapsing MS, talk to your doctor and learn more at Kesimpta.com or call 855-KESIMPTA.
Because how you live your life is still up to you.
For the person like me that's ready to really do the work and get that foundation of faith, let's go to your 3-step process, which is release, align, become. So let's start with release. You say the first step is release because we need to be aware of what's holding us back, right? So what are we actually releasing? Is it old identities, fear, all of those things?
All of those things. Right? We're releasing this idea that we're stuck in this, fixed thing, right?
Right.
So every day that we have patterns and they're running based on beliefs. And so we have a belief, we run the pattern, it creates a behavior and an emotion, and then we take an action based on it. So if we have a belief that we are unlovable, our pattern is to get, people into relationship with people that don't love us. And that creates all this strife and emotion. And then we take an action, which is like either, getting into a fight, breaking up, finding a new partner or whatever it is. And so that's the cage that we're in. We think that it's just us. Why is it I, always get the same man or the same woman? Right? Why is that? And so if we start to say, oh, there is something underneath this that's running. And every time I take an action or have a feeling, an emotion, I ask why. And I say, oh, okay, that's a belief there that has been cultivated based on learning as opposed to like just us.
Right. You instruct us in the book a lot to write. Do you think writing, like physical writing, is the gateway to like really narrow down and get clear about what these fears are?
I think that's a great one. I think there's a few things that can kind of, especially when you free write and you just kind of, you don't think about what you're writing. You just start writing. And you let your kind of subconscious mind, your hand, guide the way. And so when we free write like that, we really start to release kind of what the truth is, what we're truly feeling, what we may be afraid to even think about or say. And then I think to start to make changes, transcendental meditation, hypnosis really allows us to go into the subconscious mind or into these beliefs and patterns, or just lowers the kind of friction so that we can make suggestions for ourselves and change the awareness, change the belief, to try to change the pattern, as opposed to always being frenetic and saying, oh, that's just me, I'm just this person. I hear so many people saying, like, I'm that type of guy, I'm just my mother used to, whatever it is, person,
unlucky or
whatever it is, but just like putting yourself into a bucket of who you are.
Right.
You see this with sports fans a lot. Like they live and die by the team that they love. And if you see this in politics, it's almost an affront to your own identity if you say something that is against that team, that politic. Yeah. And so the first part is to make awareness and to release what doesn't serve you. Because guess what? A lot of that stuff does serve you.
Yeah. Yeah. You talk about shadow work, and I think sometimes people don't necessarily know what that means. Could you help explain for those that don't? What is our shadow?
Yeah. I guide people through the book to like recognize what their shadows are, and to accept them and to work with them as opposed to being afraid of them. So the shadow, just think of these monsters in the closet, these evil shadows. And so these are all of our unwelcome parts of us, the parts that we, are ashamed of, that we keep hidden, and our jealousies and our spites and our angers and our viciousness and all these protective things. So we start to say, okay, first let's look at the shadows as protectors, because they only come up when, like an old belief or issue is challenged. And now, let's try to change these shadows to like something cute and cuddly so that, we can just say, oh, there it is again. Carl Jung would say, until we make the unconscious conscious, we can't really live. And so he's this guy that kind of went through the shadows and shadow work. And it's like, okay, yeah, we all have these. And guess what? We're all trying to hide the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just accept it. And then when we stop resisting it, it stops persisting so much. And these fears and other things become smaller and smaller. And we can actually manage it as opposed to denying it.
Do you think self-compassion is also part of it? Because I remember when I first really started getting into my shadow work, this deep-rooted belief of mine came up. And I think that it aligns with my having MS. I can remember.
What was it?
I'll tell you. When I was 14 years old, this belief came into my body that if something was wrong with me, it would ensure that I would be loved and that nobody would not like me.
Mm-hmm.
I had such a fear of people not liking me or misunderstanding me because of my privilege or because of anything. And I thought, okay, well, if something is wrong with me, then nobody can't ever be mad at me or ever not like me. And it took a while for me to have compassion for where that belief came from and to look at that young girl and see the innocence of why she thought she needed that and what she thought that would give her, and felt like now it was my responsibility to show her that that's not true.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Thank you. And when that first happened, I really feel like my whole healing journey began. And so I understand the importance of doing deep shadow work and really understanding and having, like I said, self-compassion and self-forgiveness.
I think it's so important, right? We forgive everybody and have compassion for everyone, and then we beat ourselves up so much, right?
Yeah, so much.
We just, think of that, little girl, little boy inside you as, your son or daughter. Would you be so mean to them? And I don't think so. But then we have judgment, right? Because it's like,
right.
Okay, well, that is the idea of significance. I have it too. And so like, okay, so have I not resolved it yet? And why am I still sick?
Right.
And what do I have to do now? Is it, like I should, why am I not, and sometimes, I just want to say it's not your fault.
Yeah.
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 You're not doing it wrong. It's not your fault.
That's so important to remember.
Bodies, have issues sometimes. And, and sometimes, we really believe it's our fault. We look for, well, what did you do? What did you do?
Mm-hmm.
You were eating a lot of, you were eating a lot of fast food and potato chips, and now you have autoimmune.
Right.
You ignored all your shadow work and your emotions, and your father's trauma is giving you this disease, and maybe, but also it's not your fault.
Yeah. Did you have shadows you think your illness forced you to meet?
Yes. I would react because I had this kind of guilt wound, and this idea that that I was bad.
Mm.
And so I was constantly like trying to hide that I was bad, a real belief that I was bad. And I would try to hide that I was bad. So, and then anytime someone didn't love me or didn't text me back, even, I'd be like, are you mad? Did I do something wrong? Are you mad? Or just, take that into a relationship, like,
Yeah.
I'm going to people and then the shadow is, I'm finding people who will tell me I'm bad. And then my whole role is to try to convince them that I'm not.
Mm.
And that's a pretty, excuse my language, effed up dynamic.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I realized that and really, like, I did a lot of work to change it that my relationships were stuck in that for a long time.
Yeah. Do you find that a lot of people that have to live with a body like ours have that similar line of thinking? Because I too was like that. I thought that I was always going to be exposed, that I was bad. And I remember hiding my MS for 16 years, mainly because I thought if people knew I had MS, it would show them that I was inherently bad. It was like proof of that voice in my head that this girl deserves this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. That's hard. Yeah, right. Oh, little girl that I can see inside you. I want to hug her.
I know.
I think a lot of people have this, and like the shame.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shame, and not from other people.
No,
shame from we exhibit this shame. I have this. I see it. And we want to just go like that and have it be gone. And we go to every guru and every healer. It's like a process. It's work. We release a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then it comes up again. And I even see it today. It comes up again. I see a picture of me in the newspaper. I'm walking with a cane, or like online. Who reads newspapers anymore? But I see a picture of me walking with a cane and I'm like, ew. And then I have to say, oh, I just had a reaction to that. And it's like, sorry, so sorry. You're doing so great. You're keeping me alive, body. Love you. And get back.
I'm so glad you said that. And that's so important for people to hear, because I think I can get hard on myself of like, oh, why is that? Because I've had the same thing about the cane. I white knuckled it for so long until finally I was like, why am I not bringing out a cane to support myself and making my life easier? And it actually took a hypnotherapist. I went to a hypnotherapist about 10 years ago. This is still before I was public with MS. And I was walking up his driveway to him and he said to me, why aren't you looking at me when you walk? And I said, well, I don't like to watch people watch me walk.
Oh.
And he said, wow, you have so much shame around this, don't you? And I didn't even realize that I had such embarrassment and shame of the way that my body moved. And I had 3 sessions with him. And after that was when I felt comfortable to say, you know what? I am just going to tell people I have this. Why am I hiding this anymore? It was another moment of learning for me. But again, to hear you still have those moments, and that's when the work comes in, right? It's not like you do this work and it's done and you're necessarily completely free and, aren't affected by any of the old things anymore. They're still going to come up, but the work is what can come and save you in those moments. And I think that's so important, like I said, for me to hear and others as well.
No, I agree. Right? And I think we think a lot that we're doing it wrong. Yeah. Right. I did all this work and why is this still here?
Right.
When is it going to happen for me? And it's happened. It's happening.
Exactly. So now that brings me to step 2, which is align, because these 4 levels of consciousness are so important to understand and to uncover. And the first one is life is happening to me. So can you explain that?
Right. This is when we are awash and like, this happened again, and like this issue, this disease, this all this breakup, no control whatsoever. It's like no empowerment, And it's just always, and you hear people like, it's like, I can't get a break, and it's a tough world out there.
Yeah.
And so it's always happening. It's happening to me. And this is the lowest frequency, the kind of lowest. And I hate to even say this word. I'm not going to. It's just the lowest kind of frequency.
Yeah.
And from there, it kind of goes into, let's raise the consciousness a little bit with, life is happening for me.
Yeah.
This could be learnings. This could be a way for me to expand. This could be a real way for me to kind of understand. So, like this condition, it's like, okay, that needed to teach me something. And that provides some relief, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, life is happening through me. Oh, that's a higher level of consciousness that says, like this life, I am the conduit of it. Whether I have an illness or whatever it is, it's happening through me, and I have empowerment of what happens as it moves to life is happening as me, meaning like I am the universe itself. I am the universe experiencing itself as me through my eyes. I am the I am that I am. And then I am a mirror for all things as well. And so as me says that, I've transcended all shame. I've transcended all blame, all these things, that I am just a being. And in that, I will be no matter what happens.
That's right. Do you feel that tools like meditation is where really it can get you there? Because I remember one of the first times that I meditated, I had this vision, and it's one that I have often because it makes me so happy. And it's me running again on a beach with my 2 boys. And it was so beautiful and so real. And I remember telling my oldest son about it, and he was like, "Oh, does that make you sad when you come out of meditation that you can't run?"
That's a nice question.
And I said, "You know what? No, because what I experienced in my meditation was real. That was a real moment that I had. And you can't tell me that it wasn't, because I felt it in my entire body." And so it almost allowed me, because I'm sure a lot of people with chronic illness feel the same. Like I have felt very out of my body for so long, like completely disconnected from it. Like it wasn't a safe place for me to be. Like I could live fine up here, but in this body was not safe and very dangerous. And so meditation and having those kind of visions in my body helped me have a better relationship and feel safe in it again.
Real integration.
Yeah.
I have dreams too that I'm running.
You do.
That's like gorgeous. It's so gorgeous, those dreams. It's so, I forgot what a joy it is to like feel that strength in your body and to the air and the energy and to run. And to
that freedom, right?
Yeah.
My husband and I, a couple of weeks ago, were in New York and we rented. My boys really wanted to go around Central Park. And I was like, well, I don't know how I'm going to participate, guys. Like maybe you should go do this without me, because I can't stand on a scooter. I can't ride a bike. There's no tricycles around. And my husband found a 2-seater e-bike. And I was just able to sit on the back while he was able to balance it for the both of us. And feeling that wind in my face and feeling that experience was so joyful, and just showed me like, okay, it's not how I thought it would be, but there's still another way to still have that experience.
Right. And it's amazing that you have people that love you and want to, support you. For a long time, and I think a lot of people feel like this, and a lot of people that I coach, it's like they don't have the vulnerability to allow the support.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so important with alignment, because with alignment, you're starting to look at, okay, who am I with? What am I doing? Where am I? What do I have? And so getting into alignment with the way that it feels in the life that you want. And, sometimes people with chronic illness are pushing people away.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And that's a tough place to be when you can allow people to actually help you. I found now, like, I've made some wonderful friends. I like to cold plunge.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. But in like a river,
I
as
love it.
opposed to that
Right.
thing. And so, it's not easy to get into rivers,
Mm-hmm.
for us. And so, we're in, Iowa with Idaho with some friends. And, one guy, very strong guy, then his wife, I don't know him that well, but, we're all kind of in this friend group. And so they're going cold plunging. I said, I'd love to go cold plunging with you, but you're going to have to help me into the river. And he's like, I'd be happy to help you into the river. I'm like grabbing onto his back and his arm, and like he's sturdy, and and then he helped me out of the river, and we walked, and like it's like two men with their shirts off, and I got my arm around him, and we became fast friends because I allowed that vulnerability of him to help me.
Yeah.
And so it's like, would I have been there otherwise? I don't think so.
That's right. It's so true. We so rob ourselves of things because we are so afraid to ask for help and what it may make us look like or seem like. But don't you find that people love to help?
Yeah. People want to help.
Yeah, they do.
Just for the same reason we want to help people.
That's right.
It makes us feel significant. I was getting out at the neurologist the other day, and this old woman, she was like this, and clear. She had a cane, and she dropped her glasses on the ground. And I'm looking at her, and she's looking at her glasses, and I know she can't bend down to get those glasses.
Yeah.
And I go over, I get her glasses, I give it to her, and I'm like, let me help you to the door. And she's like, no, just help me up the step. And so I grab her, and we get up the step, and I'm like, don't you want me to help you to the door? And she didn't want that help, but she accepted the help of the glasses and the step. And I felt like my heart burst open. I was so happy to be able.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yes. All right. So let's take us to the subconscious, because you talk about this and I believe it wholeheartedly, but I want you to answer this for our listeners. How much of our suffering is the original circumstance versus how much is the story that we've built around it?
I think it's the story that we built around it.
Yeah.
That's why this book is so powerful, and it helps us, and it's written with neurolinguistic programming. So as you're reading it, you're like having these realizations.
Yes, the whole time.
Yes. And so it's like, because we can speak in a way which our brain will naturally start to unlock. So that's why and then you write some things and you're like, maybe I can see things differently. So the story that we build around our suffering, right? First, it's suffering. I have an illness.
Right.
And then the story we build around it, I won't be loved. It's going to get worse. How am I going to, I'll never ride a bike again, is the real pain. So if we can create a different story, like this is teaching me something, I have people that will support me, then it becomes, it becomes less of an impact. And when it's less of an impact, we become more emotionally regulated, and that opens up infinite possibilities.
Do you find like moments, like for me, I can think back to like moments where you're in hyper presence, like when you fall in love or, something wonderful happens, like my body responds.
Yeah.
It responds differently. And so because I'm out of that everyday suffering story that I've had, right? And I'm living life, I'm present. And it's such an important reminder for people. Like, it's why I try to, even just tell our listeners, just like chase one thing that makes you happy, even if it's, sitting down and watching Bravo with, a good healthy snack, or, meeting friends for lunch or coffee, like getting out and doing those things, taking yourself out of it and out of the story in your head. Your body wants to do that with you. It doesn't want you to sit there and be punished.
Yeah, I agree. And we are not against our bodies.
No.
We are, their bodies, it took a few psychedelic experiences and a lot of internal work to realize like, oh, this guy here, this body, is doing everything it possibly can for me. Just trying as hard as it possibly can to help me survive. It's like, and me, getting upset about it, it's like kicking a puppy that loves you, because it peed on the floor. Or well, imagine a puppy that broke its leg, and then you're wondering why it's not jumping and running. And it's like all that puppy wants is love from you. It's like so happy to help and support you. And once we understand this,
Yeah.
it at least removes some of the suffering. Doesn't make everything better.
No.
But it definitely removes some of the suffering.
Right. It's just the perspective, right? They say a miracle is just a shift in perspective. I too I did a plant medicine journey, and I remember one of the main things that I got was I remember just like looking down at my legs and my body and being like, you are working so hard for me. Like, I love you. I'm sorry. You're not betraying me. You're not angry at me. Like, you're in this with me. Like, you're working for me. You're trying. And I think that people laugh at me sometimes when I talk about this, but like talking to your body and having a relationship with it is so important.
So important. It's your body's listening to every word that you say.
Right.
And so the question is, how are you learning to shift that language on a more regular basis? So, the old automatic language doesn't come out anymore. And that's kind of the practice. That's what we, kind of unravel. And then a lot of these fears, and issues are, once we re-experience them in a kind of a theta trance-like state, they can change just as easily. It's really just a memory and an imagination.
Yeah.
And that's why I created these kind of hypno meditations that go with the book.
That was just going to ask you the
Let me
app.
show
I'm
you.
like dying for the app because I'm like, I can't get it till September 1st, but I'm so ready for this hypno coaching.
This is the hypno coaching here. And here are all the things. You can't really see it because it's too bright. But you go in and you do each one of these as you do each chapter of the book, each thing. And then I think I just went into a studio and recorded them. I think they're good. I hope people love them. But it will really start to, this work for me, hypnotherapy and hypnosis, I've done it all, right? Yeah. I'm sure you have too. You kind of just kind of do it, right?
Yeah.
Try to find it.
I'll
never
try
stop
anything.
looking. And one of the biggest, most impactful parts that have changed my life the most is hypnosis. Now, people get scared of that term hypnosis because it has this kind of, Hollywood, the movie Get Out or like any other movie that is like a gold watch and that kind of thing.
Right.
But, so don't call it hypnosis, call it meditation. That's what Joe Dispenza does. Don't call it hypnosis, call it, training. That's what Tony Robbins does. But, so call whatever you want, but do it, because when you do it, all of a sudden you start to work with the underlying unseen, the quiet parts of you that are really running the show.
What happens to someone's brain and body when they're in that deeply relaxed and receptive state?
Well, we have brainwave frequencies, right? And so right now we're probably in beta. I may have put you into a little bit of alpha just in the cadence of my voice. Mm-hmm. But as we think about what to say, we're in the beta. So we're like processing and doing, like scrolling social media, we get there too, until we get to some videos that will put us right into a theta state and suggestible. But so when we're relaxing, our mind goes into a theta state, which is a relaxed, receptive state. Theta is often associated with hypnosis and meditation. And within that state, we are, it's kind of like, drowning out all the static and all the noise so that we can have more focus. And with that focus, we can become more aware of the things that are, coming up and driving us in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I had a realization that, this is a memory. What age was I when I had this fear? This happened when I was 6 and whatever it was. And if that's the case, how do I love that 6-year-old and like let her know that we can release this fear now, please?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's easy as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For someone that thinks that they can't like that, oh, I will never be able to get that quiet. I'll never be able to get relaxed. Could you lead us through the lemon exercise for
Yeah,
someone listening right now so they could understand and know that it's possible?
100%. So all all you have to do is think of food and your mouth starts to water. Or in the meditations, what I call hypno meditations that I do, I always say your mind will drift and dream, wonder and wander. But you can still listen to the words that I say. Meaning we think that with meditation, this idea of, oh, there's a thought, get it out. I'm thinking too much. I don't pertain to that. I think that let your mind go, because when you relax enough, it will go to the right places that need to be healed. And so the lemon experiment shows really that we have such an impact on our body, and that what we're fantasizing about is often considered almost as real as what actually happens. So if you think about a lemon and you think about this really ripe, yellow, citrusy lemon that you just picked from a lemon tree, and now think about cutting that lemon in half. And it's so juicy, that sour citrus, you can smell it as it comes in, and the sour lemon juice is already running out of it. Now you're squeezing it into a glass, right? This kind of, those candies, those lemon drop candies that we used to have, those Sour Patch candies. And this lemon is like that. You're squeezing into a glass so much. And now the glass is full with this super sour, ripe, tart lemon juice. And I ask you to drink the entire glass of it now. Does your mouth already start to water? Right? And so if your mouth is already starting to water, there's no lemon juice, then why?
Yep. I love it. You can't question it now.
No questioning.
So obviously we can do all this inner work, but there's also things that we are doing in the physical world to help support our body and our well-being. I find, with chronic illness, diet can be very triggering for some. And I think can sometimes be, contradicting reports like this diet will heal you or this diet will heal you. And they can often be very different. I wanted to ask you, do you think that it's not so much about necessarily what the diet is, but more a sort of like an energetic thing of a commitment to yourself and the self-love of like following a plan, like the energy that brings to yourself? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Am I making sense?
Yeah, I do. What's more important, like the kind of the shame around the food you're eating, like removing that, or removing the food?
Yeah. Or if it's like, because some people say vegan or some people say carnivore, and like it's helped different types of people. Is it more about just committing to something and showing your body and yourself that if I'm following this plan because I love you and I want to help you, rather than the specific diet itself?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that resonates with me. What I do know is that, like Dr. Terry Wahls, I'm sure that you've kind of done the Wahls protocol for MS and autoimmune. Like, that's real.
Yeah.
Right? You're taking out all the chips and all the stuff, all the packaged food and processed food and all that stuff. That's 101. You got to do that. That's real.
Yeah.
Take it out of your life. You don't need Diet Coke. It's so great. I love Diet Coke. You don't need it. All right. It's not going to kill you. All right. But just don't, if you got autoimmune, just don't drink it.
Yeah.
And chips and all that stuff. Now, some people, right, do really well on vegan, and some people do really well, on the carnivore diet.
Right.
And, what I would say is, yes, supporting yourself is half the battle. That energetic of loving yourself. And, people think I'm crazy when I kind of like bless my food. Yes, thank you so much for this food. I love you. You're going to nourish my body. And my sister has cancer, and she kind of blesses her chemotherapy. Right. And so the next part is, I think that, like you eat right for your body. Like some people, meat is really great for, like me. And like other people, vegetarian makes them feel great. Like my friend Darren O'Lean, he's like so muscular, and all he eats is vegetables. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just finding what works for you. But like we said, it's like, I think it's just such a statement to you, all of your bodies when you commit to something and show up every day saying, I'm worth this. I'm worth trying this, and I'm worth feeling better, and I'm worth putting the good stuff in. And there's something that shifts inside when you commit to a plan like that, for sure.
I agree. Yeah.
For sure. All right, Jim, before I let you go, you've been so generous with your time. I just want to ask you a few more quick questions.
Okay.
So imagine someone listening to us right now who's just received a diagnosis, or they're 5 years into something that they never asked for. They're exhausted. They're scared. They don't recognize their life or their body anymore. What is the first thing that you want them to believe?
That they're still lovable. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. We start to think that, we're broken and that we're not lovable and that we're not worthy. And I think that, really all we want in life is to be safe, accepted, and loved. And so that's where I start with everybody that comes to me like that. And first, you're safe. You're safe right now. Even if, where this disease may be heading, you're accepted. And you're lovable. You are love itself. So that's where I would start.
Beautiful. And my last question, if you could sit in front of 19-year-old Jim and say one thing to him about the road that lies ahead, what would it be?
It's, it's going to be hard, but worth it. That's what I'd say. It's going to be hard, but worth it, and work out as much as you can, right?
Yeah.
It was so many years that I was like, fuck this body.
Yeah.
I wouldn't work. And I would just, or I took my strength for granted. And then in my 40s, I should have been working out like a madman. Not should have. I could have been working out more. And that's what I would tell him.
I love it. Well, it's the Book of Possibility. It's out September 1st. I know it will change your life the way it's been changing mine. Jim, it's been such a pleasure to meet you and speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course.